Hey Screen Watcher, welcome back to another Double Take review, where we give you our 2-take double dose injection of pop culture criticism because that's what the doctor ordered. Just a heads up, first half of the show will be spoiler free for your convenience, at which point we'll be swinging into spoiler territory where we put a big warning on the screen just to let you know, all courtesy of our in-house Night Monkeys. Without further ado, action, what are we watching?
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Your friends are in trouble. You're all alone. The question is, what are you going to do about it?
Superhero stuff.
Watch out! Here comes the Spider-Man. Action, we just saw Far From Home. What did you think?
I think this might be the best live-action Spider-Man ever. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thought it had a really nice pace throughout. I was never bored, and this is not a short movie. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something.
Yep.
But I thought I was captivated by a story. I really liked the villain of the story. I liked his motivation. I liked.
Do you like him better than Vulture?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just a recency effect because just saw this, but I really liked it. What about you?
So I was really into it until something happens. I can't say what because it's a spoiler, but basically Spider-Man is pitted up against a foe that's not really like a supervillain. It's some other thing, and it just really took me out. But then I was like, that's okay because it's just a quick thing. It's just a quick little fun thing, you know. The movie's full of quick little one-liners and funny little instances, and I thought this is one of those times. And then the climax of the film is about that one thing that I saw that I was like, what are you fighting?
So
like that's not. So that was the moment that I started to like leave from the whole popcorn enjoying Alex to I'm going to criticize this thing. That being said, it's still a fun. I have to say I didn't like Homecoming that much because one of my original criticisms of it was I didn't feel that it was very special. I wanted Spider-Man to be more of like a hero, and I was really only going off of the original Sam Raimi movies because in those movies they have their flaws, but I don't think they ever made a mistake when they tried to portray Spider-Man as a hero. Like almost in every shot, it's very heroic. He does very heroic things. I understand that they were trying to do something different with this new Tom Holland Spider-Man, but I just wanted to say that I wasn't a big fan of Homecoming. Over time, I've rewatched it and I appreciate it more, but I still prefer the Sam Raimi universe. It's just my own personal preference.
Just it might be.
This one is like I said, it's a different take. You know, it's a fun, fast, young Spider-Man who sometimes has spider sense and sometimes doesn't, and they don't seem to ever quite nail, you know, whether he does or not or how it works. And I feel like that should have been locked down in Civil War, and it took him all the way until Infinity War when we saw the little spider hairs on his arm grow. But then in this movie, there's contradictions because it's like sometimes he has it and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay.
So again, that's like super nerdy, like getting real deep into it. But it bothers me because this is a nerdy thing. It's Spider-Man, it's comics, and like those kinds of things I really was paying attention to.
Okay. I gotcha. I think there are a lot of things that we can talk about in the spoiler section.
Yes, there sure is.
It seems like you're like fired up. So if you want, let's go to the spoiler section.
All right. Well, cue those night spoiler monkeys.
So Alex, it seems like there were things that you were not happy about plot-wise. Let's get into it.
Now that we're in spoilers, I can go into what I was alluding to. The thing that Spider-Man comes across, he accidentally calls a drone to the bus, and the bus with Tony Stark's technology with his glasses.
Who gives him the Tony Stark?
I think it's
Happy.
Was it Beck?
Happy.
No, but that was Happy did give it to him.
Yeah. Because Tony Stark wanted him to
be his successor, or he at least thought that he knew what he was doing enough to do it. Obviously not, which again, Tony Stark, what a idiot to think that this little kid could handle it, and obviously he couldn't because he called a drone to kill his friend. But anyways, I was like, this is Spider-Man, okay? If we were to Google search the word Spider-Man, we would see Spider-Man fighting the Lizard, Spider-Man fighting the Scorpion, Spider-Man fighting the Fishbowl Head, Spider-Man fighting the Kingpin, Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin. Where does Spider-Man fight the drones? He never does. He never fights the
That's
drones.
the thing,
and
though,
like the Tony Stark drones, like how Tony Stark always like thought a step ahead all the time, like, and yet he couldn't think to put some sort of safety device to keep a drone coming down and killing his friends.
It seems like it has.
There was even a baby protocol in his original suit that prevented Peter from going into fatal kill mode or whatever.
Like all of the things that you're saying has nothing to do with the film that you're watching. It's just like nitpicking about why the story was written this way. But
I don't think the writing was very good. I think, and then convoluted. It's very convoluted at the end. Again, and it reminded me of Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3, everyone was like, oh, we're going to see this really cool villain. What was it called? The Mandarin? And I, not knowing a whole lot about the Iron Man mythos, I was like, this is going to be interesting. We're going to see this really cool villain who's head charge of the 9 rings, and we're going to see just how evil he is. And then they pull the sheet off, and they're like, nope, it's not any of that. It's not a cool villain or anything. It's some douchebag with orange glowy powers who has done this whole thing. It's like, who's that? That's not the Mandarin. That's Pierce. It's Memento. And so they did the same thing with this movie, and thinking that Beck and the fishbowl. There was all this praise going into the movie about Beck Mysterio being done proper with a fishbowl head and the cape and everything, and it looks good in all the trailers, like all the production design and all the costume design. And yet they do the same thing. They pull the sheet off, and they're like, nope, we don't have enough confidence to be that silly. So instead we're going to come up with, oh, he's controlling drones. Elaborate drones that can both put on a display of augmented reality, and also at the same time, just to make sure that you get it, they're firing guns and blowing pulses to make sure that the area around them is being destroyed. So they've gone to this level of trying to explain how these things work and how people can believe them, but it's like too much to its detriment, because then you got a person like me being like, well, wait, what about this person over here looking at this weird angle, or there are all those drones like flying around each other, like wouldn't they run into buildings? Or if you noticed, they were setting up like little scenes with like debris hanging out. Did they have somebody ship that debris into the scene, like you're shooting a movie scene, right? Like they had pieces of debris standing around. And also it's rendered CGI that they created for the projection. So who was quickly rendering these images? It's not like Beck was quickly, he did it one time, and then that doesn't follow through to the end because Peter does something and it messes up with what their plans were. And it's not like the CGI was quickly rendered to reflect that new perception.
Well,
5 minutes later.
I guess one thing that comes to mind, like I really can't have a discussion here because like that's your feeling about the movie. Like you go to a restaurant and they bring you potato soup, and you're like, I don't like potato soup. Potato soup is not good. Like that's the thing. Like you're like, I don't like this. And
do you agree with the Iron Man 3 thing? Did that remind you of it at all?
No, I love this movie. I love
Mysterio is not the villain. It's some dude in a mocap suit.
I like Mysterio in this movie and how they went about it. I love the mocap suit. I love where he came from. So he just like
disgruntled Stark employees is essentially the villain.
Right. So like I liked him. The way he was.
Even the Vulture was like an ex-disgruntled employee, but they still stayed true to like his origins, and they put him in the cool suit and everything. And
we're not talking about comics. We're talking about this movie specifically.
This is a comic book movie,
right? But
so it has to. Again, and this is Marvel. They've paid so much homage to the original comics.
Well, like this is a. We're doing a movie,
mainstream.
We're doing a movie review. We're not doing a comic review. So, like you're saying, like
but you know what I'm saying.
Like as a movie, I thought like the story that they presented was, and like we can focus on the positive things. I think.
Well, there's a subplot, and it's the love story between Peter and MJ, and I was really interested in that, but I felt like it was very quickly pushed aside and sort of squeezed in where they could squeeze it in. Whereas if you look at Spider-Man 2, the entire movie is about Peter's relationship with MJ. And it pays off really awesomely at the end because MJ wants to be with him, it like pushes aside Peter's own responsibility to want to keep her safe, and she says, no, I want to be with you, go get him, Tiger. And then you're in the theater cheering. This movie, instead, it's like it's very abruptly, you know, put in there. But again, though, I just think like even in the trailers, it seems like this movie is going to be about Peter having to tackle the responsibility level of being Spider-Man, what he wants personally with Mary Jane, and then how Beck's introduction in the movie is going to shape those changes that are supposed to come. And I just feel like thematically, all of it is instead what I just set up an awesome theme for a movie. Like it's a character who's deceptive, and instead of following those thematic elements, they took all of them in a bag and like shook them and like threw them. And it doesn't make sense. It's just weird falling debris. Okay. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I did want to state that I don't think this movie is horrible. I'm going on a rant here, and I found a couple things not to my liking. I would give it like a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
They could have done more with it. I think the stakes could have been higher, dude. I think they could have killed somebody even. Like, it doesn't, you know, even if it's a small character, like it would have added some weight to it.
I gotcha. There are 2 post-credit sequences. Stay until the end.
This is something that I got really happy about, and it was the return of J.K. Simmons. Like, that's something the fans have really wanted. I don't know if you've kept up on it, but like everybody was saying, hey, Kevin Feige, bring back J.K. Simmons. He was the best J. Jonah Jameson. And when I saw him on screen, I was like, oh, congratulations. That's awesome. That's a great fan point. Again, about being nostalgia and like looking back.
Yeah.
So his inclusion is great. And also the Daily Bugle. Again, I wanted to talk about the importance of like a large theme of the movie is Spider-Man becoming the next Iron Man. And I don't see how that emotional thematic payoff paid off.
Okay.
But I know that that's what they were going towards. I just feel like it was like ramping up to that, but without the big ending. At the end of Spider-Man Homecoming, the big ending would be when Spider-Man lifts up the thing, because the entire movie he really hasn't believed that he could do it. He thought he needed Tony Stark's help. And so he lifts the thing and everybody cheers. And I thought that we were missing that moment in this movie. There was something like that thematically to make the audience relate to Spider-Man's issues in this particular story.
All right. Thank you very much for watching our review. We're going to be back with more movie reviews. And
we'd like to end every show with a heartfelt thank you to all of our dedicated night monkeys. Until next time, keep on screen watching.